For a brand like Toyota that pioneered the fast-growing industry of electric vehicles, or EVs, it's a rather shocking turn of events to see the automotive giant seemingly get cold feet at the very beginning of the electric vehicle revolution in the modern society as we know it. What then is the cause of Toyota's hesitation in the electric vehicle market? It all comes down to Toyota's decision of where to put their eggs and why that basket. For years now, Toyota has boldly invested in the technology of hydrogen fuel cells against the conventional internal combustion engine system currently in large use worldwide. Proof of these intense dedications to their cause of choice is the increased stake in the production of more units of the Toyota brand Toyota Mirai, which is the hybrid vehicle powered by hydrogen. For Toyota, the race to lay hold of the next sustainable source of energy for automobiles and the industry at large goes beyond the scope of just electric vehicles, but also into fueling systems for large trucks, machinery, ships, and possibly even aviation and city power sources. Now, for a giant like Toyota, this could be revolutionary if it plays to their advantage, and could likewise be a failure in titanic proportions should they fail at this. Well, it's safe to say that they've gotten the full gist of things and have set strategies in motion to make sure they're not on the losing end when the smoke clears. Toyota has engaged in a double-prong approach to adequately handle the situation at hand. There's the heightened engagement on the political scene by Toyota to further solidify their position by slowing down the whole electrification of the industry and also compelling arguments in their favor for hydrogen-based fuel to be widely accepted, promoted, and backed by governments. The nonprofit organization Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, or CREW, found that Toyota's campaign contributions to Republicans in the year 2020 targeted and sponsored at least 22 lawmakers who denied the scientific consensus on human-caused climate change. Now, this does not make sense for some core reasons. Why would Toyota, which had been praised worldwide for the paradigm-shifting innovation of the automobile industry with the design and crafting of the super popular Toyota Prius? Toyota, as a giant in the field of the automobile industry, did see very far ahead of their competition with the hybrid Prius. In the year 2004, after some necessary redesigns on the original sedan concept, sales exponentially increased. It was such a lovable addition to the society and even to the ecosystem that celebrities in Hollywood also fell in love with it. It could simply be said that it was the golden child of the automobile innovations of that age and time. For someone who massively enjoyed the applause of all on how eco-friendly the Prius is, and the importance of such vehicles that do not contribute further to the destruction of the Earth's natural system as we know it, but rather still retain core qualities of comfort, availability, efficiency, and the improved output of the machine, consumption of fuel to distance coverable among others, while being eco-friendly, was a real gem. To now turn away from all of these and go after the very concept that was the winning point of the Prius and brought it world renown, now trying to discredit the work of electric vehicles produced by the competition, with the aim of removing the grid problems facing the world that we now know brought about by the environmental issues associated with fossil-based power cells. Furthermore, Toyota, as a result of the advent of the Prius, had massive advantages over the competition and sold about 4 million Prius vehicles by 2012. They had basically eaten a massive chunk of this fresh cake, so it makes absolutely no sense that the very same Toyota, who led from the very front in charge to design and construct a vehicle with the future of the Earth as one of the core principles of its production against carbon emissions, would turn right back against a major improvement in the plan against carbon emission from the conventional internal combustion engine system that's currently prevalent worldwide. Except, of course, they thought they had a much better, sustainable, and more efficient idea that they believed spanned over several industries. Add that to Toyota's anti-electric vehicles lobbying push in Washington, and you see a clear systemic attempt by Toyota to sabotage the electric vehicles market in such a way that puts their competition at a disadvantage, while successfully buying themselves much-needed time to fully introduce the hydrogen fuel system brainchild and gradually build better systems in the US, key regions in Asia, UK, and Europe, where you can now have hydrogen fueling points at a much more accessible supply. This would of course go a long way in effectively pushing forward the idea of an industry dependent on the advancing, fast-rising hydrogen fuel-based system in the automobile arm of the industry. How then does this hydrogen-based fueling system work? Well, it's not rocket science for start. It's really a genuinely brilliant proposition to solve the core issues of EVs, such as speed of recharge or refueling, and the same issue of distance coverable with a full tank. All of which the proposed hydrogen fuel cell system is a major improvement on. Basically, for ease of understanding, unlike the regular electric-powered vehicles that draw upon electric energy stored from recharge to power the motor processes necessary to move the machine among other functions, the hydrogen fuel-based cell system uses the chemical process of hydration from the fuel tank in combustion with oxygen to set off a chain reaction that the end product being electricity, water, and heat. Cool, right? I know. Amazingly, this process gives off little to no emission of pollutant elements into the atmosphere, although the purely hydrogen-based fuel cell system has no emissions of pollutants in the atmosphere at all. This hydrogen-based fueling cell system does have its key motor-related advantages. For one, energy stored in gaseous form in the tank will have no issues of loss due to no issues like the battery cell, which would need to be recharged despite not being used. Also, the propulsion in hydrogen-powered vehicles is electrical, and as such, it provides full torque while retaining no noise with an instant start to action, unlike conventional internal combustion engine systems currently in large use worldwide. Furthermore, hydrogen fuel cell system vehicles have a solid advantage in the amount of time it would take to fully charge up or refuel the system before taking off. It would take an amazing time frame of fewer than 5 minutes to fully refuel, unlike the electric vehicles, which would need quite a lot of time to recharge, somewhere within 30 minutes and even hours. Now with their gaze set on hydrogen as the fuel of the future globally, they're not just looking at hydrogen fuel cell systems through the much smaller lens of automobile transport system, but also in the much lucrative regions of the all-important marine means of good transportation, where cargo movement across the globe would be and is one of the major selling points of goods transportations across continents. With so much at stake, the enticing offer of full electrification and heavy investments in the design and construction of automobiles that are electrically empowered seems like a much smaller ballgame. Coupled with research details that extraction of hydrogen from waste and release of a single cow can effectively power a hydrogen-based vehicle for a whole year, Toyota is going all out in developing this system. Imagine a system in California for a start that solves both the problems of clean hydrogen and a large amount of supply. Cows give a byproduct of methane, which is a source of hydrogen. Using anaerobic digester on cattle farms would in turn convert animal waste on the farm into methane. Collected methane can then be channeled through a fuel cell, which in turn produces hydrogen and electricity. Now the collected methane will not cause more spending to build the infrastructure necessary for its transportation to fueling stations across different locations. The existing natural gas pipelines can be used to do this. The hydrogen is sent to the fuel stations, and then the generated electricity in the course of the conversion is directed into the electrical power grid. Now, while this infrastructure could take time to implement functionally in California and beyond, it could potentially provide a clean, regular hydrogen supply in large quantities. With all these beautiful plans and strategies still in the pipes, why should Toyota fuss over electric vehicles, or EVs, that are swarming the market? But could this be a disadvantage for Toyota refusing to book a solid spot in the EV trend today? Do you think this is a bad gamble for Toyota? Do you think the hydrogen fuel cell systems will pay off in the near or immediate future? Let us know in the comments section below.